We're digging deeper tonight into a story we've been telling you about, the death of Israel Jackson. He's the black man found tied to a tree limb in Roanoke in April. Police and the medical examiner ruled his death a suicide, but his biological family isn't so certain, and they want the case reopened.
The FBI in Richmond conducted a review of the Roanoke Police Department's investigative files and did not find cause to open a federal investigation. But as WFXR's Brooke Williams has learned, the family is not giving up just yet. Brooke, what are they calling for now?
Lynn and Kathleen, I have in my hands a letter that an attorney for the family has drafted to Attorney General Mark Herring. This letter contains details as to why they feel the investigation conducted is incomplete and what they want to happen next. An attorney representing the family of Israel Jackson is appealing to Attorney General Mark Herring, saying the family wants a, quote, true and thorough investigation, end quote, into the death of Israel Jackson. Melody Jackson, Israel's mother, and family attorney Kush Shukla spoke with me via Zoom in late June.
We're committed to the truth. We're committed to justice here. And justice really involves finding out what happened to Israel. Here you have a young man, a young black man, who was found hanging from a tree, which has strong racial undertones given the history in this country. And you've had similar recent instances like this across the nation that are now being investigated.
Jackson says she was shocked to learn about the death of her son and has many questions.
Other than looking at his body and taking him down, what did you account? What was taken into account to rule this a suicide?
The letter to the Attorney General raises several questions. For instance, if Israel's cause of death was hanging, as the medical examiner's office ruled, why was his lower body lying on the ground? The letter also points out what it calls deficiencies in the police investigation. Police reports show that certain items, like a knife found at the scene, were not tested until June, after the department received a phone call from a concerned citizen asking the case be reopened. By that time, certain items like Israel's cell phone had been disposed of. According to police reports, the phone was given to Israel's adoptive parents by the funeral home, but it smelled of decomposition and wouldn't turn on, so they eventually threw it out. The police report also references a person who may have been one of the last to have seen Israel alive on April 6th. But it's not clear based on the reports whether police ever spoke to him. Roanoke City's chief of police says while the department's investigation is closed, investigators would take another look at the case if new information becomes available.
As I mentioned earlier, there's some things investigatively that as the chief of police I cannot discuss, but what I can tell you is that we done everything that we possibly could. And when I say we, I mean collectively, both the federal agencies, our agency, the medical examiner, to do everything possible to exhaust any thought other than what the conclusion was that we arrived at.
Jackson says she's ready to accept that Israel committed suicide if that's where the evidence leads. But she and the family still feel there's more work to be done in the case before arriving at that conclusion.
I just am looking to know that they understand and care that his life he's a human being. He had a life and he meant something to us, to his family.
It's the same appeal the family is now making to Attorney General Herring, asking if this were your son, would you have been content with the investigation? I did reach out to Israel's adoptive family as well. One of his adoptive parents tells me they are satisfied with the police investigation and have accepted that Israel did take his own life. We'll continue following this story and provide you updates. Lynn and Kathleen?
Brooke, thank you. We have reached out to the Attorney General's office for comment. The office tells us, quote, we extend our deepest sympathies to the family of Mr. Jackson on their loss and understand their desire for answers about his death. We will review the letter closely and determine how best to respond. To see the full letter to the Attorney General, look for this story on our website at WFXRTV.com.